Hello, hello again, possums. Yes, it is I, the conspicuous Moo, and happy Blackwood Day to everyone. So, as you might know, Update 30 is currently in the process. We're in maintenance now, and we're waiting for the servers to come back out, and we'll start on our brand new adventure. So, I just thought I'd have a little pick through the patch notes, pick out some of the highlights, some of the things I'm looking for, some of the things that have made a change, and, you know, just generally get hyped up about what we're about to experience. So, I think it's about time to get cracking. Right, so if you do buy Blackwood, which, you know, is $60 Australian, just the standard edition, you will get the new zone, Blackwood. So if you like Argonians, if you're a lizard man, then this is definitely going to be one for you. There are 6 new delves, so delves are the single player sort of dungeon areas with single bosses at the end. They'll drop overland gear. It's very, very nice. There's one particular set of overland gear I'm very excited about, but more on that later. 6 more world bosses, lovely. 2 more public dungeons as well, so you know it's going to be quite a zone. In addition to that, you're going to get the Oblivion Portals as well, so these are just going to pop up in and around the zone. You go around, you go inside, you beat a few people up that got horns and bad breath, and not very nice people, and you'll earn jewellery from those, so it's kind of like running a dolmen, if you like. And yes, there are the companions, and, you know, despite my actual opinion of companions, and, you know, I think they've probably put a little too much work in for too little back, but I have a video on that already. Yes, absolutely, I'll level them, you know, I'll level them because, you know, I'll need to go through all the quest content anyway, and, you know, I'll gear them up, and then I'll probably won't use them again. The Rockgrove trial is a brand new trial, so 12-man raid. So that is ready to go. It's been extensively tested, but you know, it's a patch day, so there are things that are going to break and not go right and glitch out and all of that good stuff, you know. If you've been through a patch cycle in an MMO, you know how it goes. I imagine that the server's going to be fairly fruity tonight. And of course there's other stuff like there's new furniture and antiquities and dice, titles, motifs, mythic items and other various rewards you get from just questing or completing certain achievements. And yes, there are a lot of achievements as well. There are 2 new houses for you to own as well, and you know, blow your personal fortune on furnishing them. I've actually got my eye on Earthtear Cavern and the Grand Topal Hideaway. They're both extraordinarily expensive. You can't buy them with in-game gold, and they are a lot of crowns. So I'm saving my crowns for that special moment, and sort of quietly accumulating furniture in the background and sort of filling up my bank with all of this nonsense. But yes, looking forward to that. But, you know, it's not all about just the people who buy the actual top game, you know, Blackwood. You know, people who still have the base game who don't buy the expansion are going to get a whole lot of other things as well. One of the more interesting ones is endeavours. Now, this is going to be a new way. There's going to be a daily and a weekly endeavour, and it's going to show up on your Dungeon Finder panel. So that is usually by default, it's the P button. I'm sorry, I don't know what it is on console. I apologise. So endeavours are basically, if you complete those, and complete the days, complete the weekly objectives, you will get a new currency called, I think it's Seal of Endeavours, and then you can go into the Crown Store and you can go to whatever's in the Crown Crates, all the different options, the different possibilities, and then pick out the ones that you want. And this is really, really nice because, you know, if you've had any experience of running Crown Crates, you spend an awful fortune on them, and then you get a lot of duplicate stuff that turns into gems that you can possibly buy. So there's already kind of a system there in Crown Gems. But, you know, this is now a way in-game that you could actually acquire things from whichever Crown Crate is running at the moment. I think the Dragon Scale one is up right now, and the Alien. But yeah, Dragon Scales just came in. I got 15 of those. It cost me over 2 million gold. And I was pretty disappointed with the outcomes. I'm not happy with that cat. He's got to deal better next time. Moving on, ability bar timers, which have been in the game thanks to an add-on for, well, since forever, are now actually going to be implemented into the base game. So you will have the option to have your own version of ability bar timers, which are going to be added to the interface. So that's definitely a step up. There are some new monster masks that are going to be available as well. They are Imperial City themed, as in you get them from the Imperial City, a light, medium and heavy. Yeah, more PvP orientated monster mask. I think that's quite a good idea actually. So yeah, well done you. And if you're starting out in Elder Scrolls, you're going to have a new tutorial. It's called the Isle of Belfiera. I hope I said that right. But yeah, basically you get put through the tutorial. This is how everything works basically, and then you'll have a whole bunch of portals and you can choose which expansion you want to kick off in, providing you own it or you have ESO Plus. Well, now it's time for me to get excited. Now this is the new Light Overland set. So this is just going to be stuff that drops in the delves, from the world bosses, from the public dungeons. It is a light armor set, but it is a magicka warden's wet dream, basically. I'm very much looking forward to testing this. So, new set's called Frostbite. It actually got buffed during the patch cycle as well, so there you go. 2 set adds 129 spell damage. 3 adds 657 spell critical, 4 adds another 129 spell damage, and the 5 increases your damage done with frost abilities by 8%, increases your damage done against chilled enemies by 4%, and increases your damage done against enemies affected with minor brittle by 2%. So, I mean, you will basically proc the minor brittle effect by just using a frost staff, so you know you'll get a lot of that additional damage there. If you are a warden and you're spec'd into Winter's Embrace in any way, shape or form, you're going to be chilling enemies a lot, so there's a lot of additional damage there. And then anything that's a frost ability is also 8%. This could make magicka wardens really, really painful for people in PvP, I would imagine, because you've not only got the chilled effect, which gives you minor maim, so you lose, 5% of your damage against the warden you're trying to attack. You've got minor brittle, so you are now also, I think that's 10% increased susceptibility to crit. I'll have to look that up. And then just the frost abilities as well. So, some of the frost abilities are quite powerful. One's been nerfed, and we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I mean, it's a good potential set, because I was going to go with Eskrimor and Spinners, because I'm trying to get away from a crit build and more towards a spell damage and penetration build. So I'm looking at this and say, well, the spell critical I can do without, but the additional damage from just doing the abilities that Warden's given, yeah, pretty interested. Have a test. I'll let you know how I go. So yeah, and that's just overland. You don't have to do any dungeons. You don't have to do any trials. It's just stuff that drops in the new Blackwood zone. So fabulous. We go on to mythic items now. Our Ring of the Pale Order has been a very, very popular item for some time, but it was a little bit too good. So they have made some changes now. That basically means they've buffed it when you're by yourself, up to 20%, but it'll take away 4% effectiveness for each additional person in your group, so you can't kind of cheese your way through certain encounters with this powerful ring that's giving everybody heals and stuff. So yeah, it's now pretty much not useful for group content, but if you're still running around and just doing overland stuff, it's going to be absolutely fine. The Malacath change I'm less happy about, because it's a compromise. It was you basically did 25% more damage baseline, but you couldn't crit anymore, and they've changed it now to 16% more damage and 50% reduced crit effectiveness. So it's a kind of a in the middle. Now there have been many complaints about people running the Brutal Band of Malaga in PvP. It's very easy to build a high penetration, high weapon or spell damage build, and then just delete people with the additional 25% damage. And a lot of people are doing that. So for me, it's lost a bit of its value because of that. Because 50% of is going to be, I'm going to have very little critical spell critical on my gear anyway. So a 50% chance of me is still it's a half me. So I probably won't use it anymore. I'll have to come up with something new. And talking of new things, the Harpooner's Wading Kilt, people are losing their minds over this. Medium legs, dealing direct damage grants you a stack of Hunter's Focus for 1 minute up to 10 stacks max. That hasn't changed. So you can gain a Hunter's Focus stack per second. Each stack increases your critical chance now by 125. They buffed that. So up to a total of critical chance of 1250. And your critical damage by 1%. Now that was 2%, so you could, increase your critical damage by 20% if you manage to get up to 10 stacks and keep it there. Taking direct damage removes 5 stacks of Hunter's Focus. That has been changed because it was just 1, so basically if you were in PvE and you were attacking consistently, you would get up to 10 stacks and 20% additional critical damage. As long as you weren't getting hit by anything, you weren't standing in fire, you could just maintain this, and it would be insane. So yeah, they've now removed 5 stack of Hunter's Focus, and yeah, they've kind of changed it so it can be used in PvP as well, because you do get hit a lot in PvP. But you know, the actual rate of losing the focus stacks, I think, has an internal cooldown of a second now. So you know, you're still going to lose all your stacks. I still don't think this is going to be particularly useful, and it has lost some of its effectiveness. And you are really getting punished if you screw up. You know, if you get hit by anything. But yeah, I mean, if you can get it right, if you don't get hit and you're in PvE, I think this is a lovely set of legs for all you stamina damage dealers. I don't think there'll be many magicka ones knocking around. Caltrops. Now, Caltrops is an assault ability. Now, it's got a buff. It's got a buff to... It got a 36% buff, I think. It was big anyway. It was a big buff. Because it's basically the stamina version of Necrotic Orb, which is an Undaunted ability, which makes... does a lot of damage and has a lot of synergy to it. And Caltrops is kind of falling behind in that respect. I'm not all that familiar with Caltrops because I've been neglecting my PvP duties and I haven't got to be able to even try it out yet. And it only really shows up in one of my builds, which is a dual Frost Staff Warden build, because it can provide me with Major Breach. So at the moment, I think that's going to be good. I think it's going to help. There were a couple of other buffs for, I think, dual wielders and two-handers as well. Just general buffs to their overall damage, because it seems that stamina DPS seem to be falling a little bit behind at the moment, at least in terms of PvE. Now, for not so good news for the Wardens, the Arctic Wind has been nerfed. The base heal by 20%, and the heal over time by 17%. So that's quite big, but you have to bear in mind that, you know, Arctic Wind is still an incredibly good ability. You know, it's one of the very, very few abilities you would take on a tank. You wouldn't take many of the green balance ones. I mean, I think I'd take Living Vines and keep that spare, but yeah, I'm not too keen on the mushrooms. I think they're too expensive and you don't really get that much out of them. But you would always have Arctic Wind, either one of these morphs, and there aren't that many PvP Warden builds that don't have Arctic Blast on them. It's just, you know, it's just so good because it gives the shield status effect. It can stun people as well, and it gives you a nice healthy heal. So they've reduced the healing effect of it because it was really good. And you take Polar Winds usually in tanking situations, and you'll be able to give someone else a huge heal as well. So they've taken a little bit of that away, but you know, I'm not overly upset about that, particularly when they've given us the Frostbite set. What else? Yes, another major change: the item sets bonuses for the vast majority of the sets in the game will now scale off the highest stat, depending on, you know, the type of set. So it could be, you know, the higher between stamina and magicka, that's how it's going to scale properly, or the higher of weapon or spell damage. So that's just a slight adjustment there. The Holofang set, which is very popular with healers, and I'm personally very fond of Holofang. I mean, I used to, when I first encountered Holofang, it was one of the, it's a kind of green with a red bubble in the middle, and it goes bang. And I would always get out of it because, you know, your MMO brain says that doesn't look healthy. But it was in fact healthy. So, you know, once I learned what Holofang was and I was actually getting some decent healing from it, it was really nice. But, you know, they are reducing the Magicka Restore down by about 800 or so. So, you know, that is a substantial nerf. But, you know, there's a reason that, you know, Holofang was used so often. It's because it's pretty good. And it's still going to be pretty good now, but you might be able to explore a few more options. And they have toned down a number of additional effects, just clutter on the ground and stuff. There are a certain amount of procs where it's very difficult, particularly in the combat style of ESO, to actually see what is on the floor, because you've got things like Lightning Splash from Sorks, Holofang's proc, the Encratus Behemoth set is like a firing that goes around, and as you stand in it you'll get the bonus, but it's also kind of ready orange, and all of the things you should get out of are kind of ready orange. So, you know, things like that. I hope they have fixed Encratus Behemoth as well, but, you know, they're trying to reduce some of that as well. Now, this is I don't think this is just only a ground clutter thing. This is probably also a performance thing, along the same lines of, they're taking the max group from 24 to 12, and they actually do say in the notes they're doing it for performance reasons because they're still having these issues. So yeah, I think that's going to be a good thing. Now, there's just a couple of other just general quality of life things I picked up and went, that is awesome. And one of them is, can you believe it? Dragons in your own homeland. What are you going to do? Well, they do know what they're going to do with it. They've actually put it in the patch notes that they're going to make that exchange a lot less frequent. Because, if you go through any capital city, this is all you hear. That and Stuga going, do you know how long I've been looking for you? I actually just went and did Orsinium just to get rid of that woman chasing me around saying that all the time. So, good. They're reducing the frequency of that, and that is... It was kind of annoying. It's like, it's the ESO version of Citizens of Dalaran. Raise your eyes to the skies and observe. Which if you've ever used, ever played Wrath of the Lich King in WoW, then you'd know exactly what I'm talking about. And one really, really nice one. I encountered this recently because I've been pugging a lot and getting gear and stuff. But they've now fixed an issue where disconnected players could block inviting replacements to a dungeon. So, say you had a DPS that would, disconnect and they just, they couldn't get back on. They got hit by a tidal wave or something. And so they would get booted out. Fair enough, give them a bit of time maybe you don't. It's a pug, who knows? But if you tried to invite... If you tried to come in to replace them, you couldn't port in. You couldn't do anything at all. You couldn't even run to the dungeon and walk in. It would kick you back out again. And you would have to... I think most of the time, if you just logged off and logged on again, it would be fine. But, by the time you'd actually gotten in, then they're pretty much done and they're all finished. So, if they have fixed that issue, super duper. Anyway, so yeah, that's just a little sample of stuff. There's a huge amount of changes, as there always are on these updates. So I am going to put the link for the final, absolutely final, definitely no late changes patch notes in the description, so you can have a look as well. But, by and large, looking forward to it. Going to be a lot of fun. Going to be a lot of crashing around. I can't wait to get hold of that light magicka Warden set and just seeing how much damage I can do. I will be hitting the testing dummies. And if I get anything solid, I will let you know. I'm going to be testing a few other ones as well. Spinners. I've already got... Yeah, I'll definitely get Spinners. And War Maiden as well, which you pick up in Vardenfell, so I want to try that one out as well. Anyway, just wanted to touch base. Very exciting times. I'm sure I will see you again very, very soon with my, just first impressions of Blackwood and how we're all travelling. And, yeah. If you're coming along, then do have all the fun in the world. I think it's going to be great. The first 10 to 12 hours might not be, in terms of just general patch fixing and patching the patches while you patch. But after that, it's going to be great. So, see you again soon. Stay groovy, and I am the conspicuous Moo. And to Blackwood with you.